everyone. Welcome to the Georgia Smart Communities Challenge first webinar. Thank you all for joining us virtually. Just a few house rules so we are clear. First of all, we will be recording this webinar and providing the slides at the end on our website. So if you have additional questions or want to review the slides again or review parts of the webinar, they will be available for you to share. We also will, on the webinar, be able to ask additional questions at the end, or if you want to type your questions and send it to us in advance, we will be able to collect them and also answer them. So at any point, feel free to type questions on your screen and send them to us, or circle back with us at the end if you want to ask questions. So we have a short presentation to go through with you that really talks about the proposal and the outline that will hopefully help you go through your challenge proposal in more detail, but there will be other opportunities to also support you as we go further. So without further ado, let me kick off with the Georgia Smart Communities Challenge webinar. My name is Deborah Lamb, and I'm joined here with Greg McCormick and Christy Kirkland, the Georgia Smart team from Georgia Tech, to go through the Georgia Smart Communities Challenge terms. If you all see my screen, I'm just going to start clicking through the screen and go through the conditions. So first of all, there will be two parts to this webinar. The first is just going through the challenge and the different terms and conditions. And then the second part, again, is for us to go through any questions that you may have on the challenge itself, or perhaps general questions about your proposal. If you have specific questions on your proposal, please do connect with us separately. So the next slide is really just to take the scene in terms of we're going to spur smart community development throughout the state of Georgia. This is a grand mission of ours. What we have seen throughout the course of development over this year is that there has been a lot of good smart city type projects in the mega and larger cities, but there hasn't been as much dialogue or discussion in communities that are in different geographies, demographics, or smaller. So as I was saying, the main crux of this challenge is really going through our mission, which is to spur smart community development throughout the state of Georgia and to really bring additional use cases on smart communities, and to show that smart cities and smart communities can be done at all levels and scales and geographies. As many of you know, when we were talking about smart cities in the past, they were very concentrated on the larger mega cities, and we wanted to broaden this discussion because it is so process-oriented and empower all communities with the tools and technologies that could improve their quality of life regardless of size, regardless of population, regardless of geographies. And so this is a way for us to really hope that we can empower all of us collectively to move forward in the smart community development. The goals are multiple-fold, but really because it is process-oriented, to see how we can use technologies, data, and other similar tools and techniques to improve the quality of life, and really to see how those can be applied in the day-to-day settings in terms of workforce, in terms of how we are addressing the inequalities throughout the state, and really positioning Georgia and collectively all of us as the model for smart community development. By the end of this challenge, as we all know, we'll have 4 use cases or test beds that could be really diverse and good models for others to learn from and to really support in that positioning. Unlike other challenges that you may have seen in the past, we are really focused on the implementation side, meaning that once we announce the winners in early summer, we hope to stay with those 4 communities and those winners as they go through the year-long engagement of implementation. So this is very much a collective endeavor and a partnership. And with that, we've been really fortunate and honored to have a coalition of partners that cut across the state and national levels for smart community development, local government, corporate leadership, and state leadership. So this has been a really great endeavor, and we couldn't have done it without our coalition of partners that really have been supportive throughout this whole campaign, and we'll continue to support this as we go forward. So a special thanks and shout out to all our partners. So going straight to the program, like I said, it takes place in four major parts, I would say. There's that once you are declared a winner, again, we will have four communities that we will be working with. There will be, financial assistance in the form of grants, but there will also be technical assistance through our coalition of partners, as well as additional solution providers and research that we will be providing. And we're really looking for the 4 and collectively as a network of peers for us to share our learnings on not only the outcomes of whatever the Smart Community proposal is, but the process. How did you get there? What were the challenges? How were you able to navigate those challenges, and how can we share those findings collectively? And during this whole process, we have pulled together a pretty high-powered and knowledgeable team that will really provide additional advisory and subject matter expertise going forward. So I'm sure all of you have been to the website, but let me just tell you a few more things on the website. If you scroll down to the website, there are 6 parts to the website. The first top level are the proposal process, the project inspiration, workshops and webinars, and again, the second row, it looks at all our partners, of course, and from our coalition partners to our research and advisory partners to our solution providers. So please click through, these 6 areas because they provide a lot of helpful resources for you as we go. And we will be continuing to update the website as we move forward. So if you have an idea or if you don't see something that might be helpful, please reach out to us because this website is an ongoing process. Our next round of updates will be updating the list of advisors for the research partners, as well as more information for the solution providers. And you'll see some additional information on the workshop agenda, for instance. So these 6 areas are probably useful parts for you to navigate on the website. Now, I've highlighted specifically the proposal process because I think that's probably going to be the most relevant for you going forward. And once you click on the proposal process, on the right-hand side is a slew of useful links that will show you everything from the program guide to the press release to frequently asked questions, as well as the template and challenge guidelines. So, feel free to download these links and help you navigate the proposal process. So with that, I'm going to turn over the terms and conditions over to Greg to let him continue.
Thanks very much, Deborah. Again, I'm Greg McCormick. I'm the day-to-day manager and director of the Georgia Smart Cities Challenge. We're very excited to kicking this. These are the specific terms and conditions of the program. It is open to all state of Georgia communities. However, we are breaking it down into 2 separate areas of winners. One area is the Metropolitan Atlanta community area, and there'll be 2 winners out of that pool. And that encompasses a 20-county region, and that will be defined on the next slide. And then if you are not within that 20-county region, you are a Georgia community, and there are 2 winners that will be picked from that pool as well. And the reason we're making that distinction is because of the type of topic that you can submit your proposal towards, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But what we're hoping is that you work with other cities and communities in your area so that this becomes a partnership, a region, a community, not just a small group of people or a small city or town. And we're really hoping that you partner where you can share data and infrastructure and resources. We're also encouraging non-governmental partners, so NGOs, with corporations, businesses, and we're also, as part of this challenge, we're going to have a collaborative research part to it where winners will work with a Georgia Tech professor or researcher to do some kind of study that assists your program. So the community region definition that I spoke to on the previous slide, if you are within one of these 20 counties here listed on the slide, it's also on the website in the fact area, you are designated as a metropolitan Atlanta community. If you are not within one of these 20 county regions, you are a Georgia community. And that matters in the topic areas that you can submit your proposal towards. And here we'll go into the specific SMART topics. The two areas that we're looking for you to submit topics towards are smart mobility and smart resilience. The smart mobility topic area is only available to metropolitan Atlanta communities and Georgia communities. But the metropolitan Atlanta communities can only submit topics to the smart mobility area, whereas Georgia communities can submit proposals to both topics. So what are we looking for? Well, this first year project is a planning study oriented challenge. So you will be developing a planning study as part of as this challenge, and you will be using the money and resources to study issues in your community and enumerate specific solutions, assess alternatives, create an implementation plan, estimate costs, identify and develop future resources, establish networks, and refine your guiding framework for moving forward into the future as a smart community. Conversely, your first year funding as part of this challenge should not include developing, testing, piloting, or developing smart communities technologies, including purchasing capital items or other types of purchased items. So what kinds of resources will you have available as a winning community? Well, first you'll have a $50,000 grant, which will be provided by our two funding partners, Georgia Power and the Atlanta Regional Commission. Next, we are requiring that each community also do a dollar-for-dollar match against that $50,000 grant. Now, you don't have to come up with the complete $50,000 in cash, but we are asking that you provide at least 20% of your match dollars in cash. The other 80% can be funded through like-kind donations of products or services that either your regional government provides or that local industry can donate to the government to use as part of this challenge. But it doesn't have to be a full $50,000 in cash. We're just asking that at least be 10. But as part of your proposal, there's a section on funding and the funding-based resources, and so you'll have to describe how you will be funding this match part of the contribution. Then there's also going to be Georgia Tech internal funding that will fund the research participants. So you will be partnering with a Georgia Tech researcher or professor, and that funding for them at a certain level will be provided by Georgia Tech itself. If you'd like to spend some of your money as the community match or as the funding, as the grant to supply additional funding to the Georgia Tech researcher, you will have that option. So we're also looking for solutions providers. And if you are a solutions provider, we'll be reaching out to you shortly to engage with you, but we're hoping that you are interested in engaging in multiple ways. One is if you would like to partner specifically with a community during their team's proposal writing, if you'd like to offer products or services to assist them in, or even advise to offer to those communities as they develop their proposal. We will have an opportunity for you to present your company and your products and services at our April 9th workshop and expo. There will be time in the morning, during lunch, and in the afternoon where community representatives will be able to walk around the expo and interface with you as solutions providers and learn about your companies and what you have to offer. And then we also would encourage you, if you're interested, that you partner with all 4 of our winning communities when they are announced to provide them with potential products or services during the year of their challenge. So the proposals themselves, they're required to address a narrative. So what are your current conditions in your community, and what would you like your future to be? What are the kinds of problems that you have that you'd like to solve using technology? Then we're looking for an overall framework of how you plan on becoming that smart city using technology. And then a description of your first year plan on how you plan on spending the money and resources to develop this overall planning study. We're looking for organizational commitments, so letters from high-ranking officials in your community, preferably a city mayor or a county CEO, but it needs to be high-ranking enough that they can enter into an agreement with Georgia Tech to receive the money and be able to commit community resources, that matching money that we referenced. You need to have support from a high enough person that can commit to using those community resources in this challenge. You will need to have identified a research partner with a professor or researcher at Georgia Tech that you plan to do your research component with. We're going to be very shortly updating the website to supply a number of people, a number of researchers at Georgia Tech who are interested in partnering with communities, and you can reach out to those professors and researchers and learn about what they do and see if they'd be a good fit for your challenge. Your proposal will also need to have details on how your community plans on providing the matching support. And we highly encourage you to attend one of these webinars that we're having today and again on April 11th, and then the workshop on April 9th. So we now have a proposal template available on the website. We highly encourage you to download it and use it as your template for developing your proposal for submission. It has all of the components that are required for a successful proposal in a nice, easy-to-use template. So we would like everyone to go ahead and use that as a starting point for developing your proposal. So when your community is ready to submit your proposal, we have a proposal submission portal, and there's a direct link here, right here in the webinar, but there are also multiple links on the website, and there's now a link on the homepage as well as in the useful links section. If you click on this link, you'll see the box here on the bottom, the website, and you'll need to register an account. And when you register that account, we'll take information from you for 2 key contacts as part of your team. One is the proposal contact, and one is your lead government contact. They can be the same person, but they don't have to be. When you create an account, your team will be assigned a proposal team ID number, and that ID number must be used on the cover page of your proposal and in the header of every page of the proposal plan submitted. Once you create an account, you can submit a PDF document as your proposal. We will only be accepting PDF documents for the proposal. However, you can update your proposal as many times as you need to, and the most recent upload that you make will be used as the judged proposal. So the judging criteria, we have a panel of judges who will be reviewing all proposals, and there will be 4 winners. 2 will be inside the 20-county Metro Atlanta region, and 2 will be outside the 20-county Metro Atlanta region or Georgia. And there will be both objective and subjective criteria. The objective criteria are just things like, is it formatted correctly? Is it within the 12-page length? And does it contain and answer all of the questions that are required, as well as do you have government and community support. And then, of course, there's subjective criteria, which is going to be judged on, do you have a compelling story? Is it motivating? Does your community have a vision moving forward into the smart city future? Is it reasonable? Does it have a reasonable framework and organizing principles? And do you have a clear execution for the vision? Is it realistic, thoughtful, and detailed? How do you intend to fund your matching portion? And does it have a meaningful research component with a Georgia Tech researcher? So here's our timeline. Right here we are on March 15th, webinar number 1. We highly encourage you to attend the April 9th workshop and expo. That will be an all-day workshop and expo. We will start as early as 7:30, where we will have breakfast and networking, and the expo will be available. And our sessions will end at 3, and the expo will be open till 4. So this will be an all-day event, and we highly encourage you to attend. There will be another webinar on April 11th. It will be the same as today, and then for Southern communities, we will be in attendance down in Tifton, Georgia, at the Georgia Chamber offices to answer any questions in person. Proposals are due May 1st. They will be judged during the month of May, and winners will be announced late May. And then projects will begin in August for a 1-year time frame. So more specifically on the future events, the April 9th workshop and expo will be at the GTRI Conference Center in Atlanta, Georgia. And details on the agenda are right here. They are now on the website as well. Our second webinar will be hosted on April 11th. Please note this is a new date. However, since you're attending today's webinar, you will not need to attend the next webinar. It will be the same material. That again will be from 12 to 1. And then if you're a Southern community and you can't make it all the way up to Atlanta for our April 9th workshop, we will be in person in Tifton, Georgia, with an open door policy from 10 to 2. So we're going to try to answer as many questions as we possibly can here in the next section. However, if we are unable to answer your question, you can submit them on the website in our frequently asked questions area, or you can send emails as well. And there's a link right on the homepage to the email address to use to submit questions. So at that, we'll move into the question and answer session. And Christy has been viewing the chat questions and writing them down, so hopefully we can go through them and answer as many of them as we possibly can during this portion of the webinar.
So our first question that has come in is, what type of matching grant is required?
So the matching grant, I mentioned this previously, it can be just a 100% cash grant. So the grant that you will receive from Georgia Tech through ARC and Georgia Power will be a $50,000 cash grant to use on certain items, and so we're hoping that your match will either come in the form of cash at a minimum of 20%, so that would be $10,000. However, up to 80% of the match can come in another form, whether it be a donation of services or time or community engagement. Those kinds of activities are acceptable.
All right, so we have our next few questions that I'll answer in quick succession. So the question is the workshop expo mandatory on April 9th? And the answer is no, it is not mandatory. What we are wanting to do is just to provide opportunities for you to meet and network other solution providers, Georgia Tech researchers, learn more about smart communities development, and of course support you as you craft your proposal. But we understand the limitations of travel and time commitment, so it's not mandatory, but we wanted to give you as much advance notice so you could plan. We certainly welcome and would be delighted if you are able to come. There is no registration fee, and we will be providing meals throughout the day. So it hopefully should be a good day to get your proposal going and meet other folks to learn about smart community development. But at the end of the day, the workshop is not mandatory, but we would be delighted if you would be able to come. The other questions are, is there an application or just a submission of the proposal? And so again, the answer is, as Greg noted earlier, there is a proposal template that's in the proposal process link, and we've tried to make it as easy as possible where you can download the template and basically fill out the sections of the template accordingly, and it's already up there, so you can plan your proposal with as much time as possible. And then the next question is the webinar being recorded for those who could not watch today? And the answer is absolutely. So both the webinar and the PowerPoint that we just went through will be available for you to watch and view at your own time on the website after this webinar. There is also going to be a second webinar on April 11th, again with a similar format, but also Q&A if you have any and all questions. And finally, there is also a question submission if you should want to submit additional questions on the website that you might not have thought of today.
So we have a lot of questions that have come in through the chat, and we're going to do our best to answer them as best as possible. I'm going to go ahead and answer one or two more questions that had come in previously before the webinar. So some examples of projects. So in general, this is a planning study, planning-oriented study. We're not looking for you to buy a bunch of sensors. We're not looking for you to implement smart street lights or anything like that. This is about your future and about developing a plan to support how your city will become a smart city moving forward. So the two topic areas are smart mobility and smart resilience. So in the smart mobility topic area, we're really looking for you to look at how mobility, infrastructure, and services are operated, maintained, developed. So specifically, it could be something to do with pedestrian or vehicle monitoring systems, electrified transit or fleet, real-time parking data and applications, connectivity options for public transit, multimodal transit, remote signal management, roadway monitoring systems, things like that. In the smart resilience topic area, you're looking to improve how communities function by addressing the technologies that lead to long-term viability and sustainability of a vibrant, inclusive, and prosperous community. So we're looking at examples of potential use cases are developing a centralized data repository to collect public and private data and using those in some beneficial way, having an online public engagement platform, potentially mapping public safety, or looking at building energy management for public facilities.
All right, I will answer the next batch of questions that we just received. So there are some questions about the Georgia Tech researcher component. So first of all, if you are a Georgia Tech researcher that's on the line or faculty member and want to be a part of this, please contact us separately. We would love to showcase your research and findings, and it will be great for us to talk. If you are looking for Georgia Tech research partners or faculty, or have an idea that requires a research component, of course, we will be posting the initial list of Georgia Tech advisors and partners up on the website shortly. If there are other Georgia Tech researchers that you want to reach out to, please also contact us and we can serve as that conduit. So there will be updates on the website very shortly that will give you a whole slew of Georgia Tech advisors and researchers that will be available to support your project. Another question that we have received is there a community size limit? And the answer to that is no. We are keeping no restrictions on, level of GDP, size of the population. None of those are restrictions in terms of minimals or maximums for any community. That's why we've kept this in a very broad inter-jurisdiction, intergovernmental collaboration. We certainly want the lead team member to be a local government, but we want the local government to pull together a coalition of partners, whether it is your local startup or local academic institute or industry partner or other state agencies to join, but there is no community size limit or restriction. Then one more question is some clarity on the limits of the grant award. So there is a few questions on what if you submit something that's under $50,000, or what if you want to continue spending after the year engagement. So we expect that the proposals that will be coming will not be, fully completed and just finished and put to the shelf by the end of this year. At the end of the day, again, smart community development is an iterative process. It's continuous, and it's something that we imagine will move into a next stage or a next phase. And so we don't know how the program itself would evolve after the full year, since this is our first statewide pilot, but we very much intend that we will continue to support not only the 4 communities, but the communities at large in Georgia on their smart community development, and would certainly hope to craft that engagement collectively. The amount of money that we propose is obviously just based on the grants that we've received and what we thought to be, what could be a good kickstart for smart communities development, i.e. the $50K that then could be matched. If you think that your project costs less, that's great, and by all means submit it. If your project costs more, we could only provide the $50K, but that doesn't mean that you can't start this project and secure additional funds, etc. So what we are providing is the maximum, which is the grant allocation of $50K that would need to be matched, and then some additional funds for the Georgia Tech research component. Certainly we welcome additional funding opportunities and sponsorships if it exceeds, working with the communities, but also we recognize if your project doesn't require that much, and would work with you on that. So the next set of questions is around the office hours on Tifton. So we have our final work-in session, or our final opportunity for engagement is the office hours in Tifton. And again, that's our attempt to try to address some of the geographic boundaries of Georgia to ensure that we are going out as many places as possible and creating webinars so you can limit the travel. First of all, for the Tifton office hours, you have to sign up for that in order for us to properly prepare. If we do not know that you're coming, then it's hard for us to plan because it is a fixed time that will be there. And then secondly, the office hours are very much used for helping with the proposal development. So absolutely, we will. There isn't the same agenda as we're planning for the workshop, and it's very much the final ability for us to do outreach to help with your proposal development.
Okay, there was a question on the requirements for vendors who would like to attend the expo. We don't have any requirements. However, we ask that you be willing to offer something to our communities, whether it be a low or no cost product or service, or working with teams during an advisement period in developing their proposal. So we're not looking for a vendor to come and do a sales pitch. We're looking for vendors to be partners in this opportunity.
I saw another question on the workshop agenda itself again. So we will be putting out the workshop agenda very soon, but in general, I'll tell you that in the morning, the doors will open around 7:30 for breakfast and networking. And we'll shortly kick off around 9 with 2 morning panels. And each of those panels will talk about some of the types of research and projects and developments around smart communities that, again, will help you think about your proposal process. And then we'll go into lunch networking for you to hopefully discuss some of your proposals or meet others. In the afternoon, we are specifically going to go through a exercise around economic development for your smart community development proposal. We have 2 facilitators, one from EI Squared and another from DCA, that will be running that afternoon session that looks at your specific proposal and the different tools and opportunities that could help drive some of the economic development in order to do the smart community proposal. Throughout the workshop, like we said, there will be time to look at the mini expo, which will be available for you to showcase different types of solutions and ideas on smart community development. So again, if you are solutions providers or a startup, please contact us separately, as we will be gearing up for pushing out the expo. And this is, again, a chance for local communities to tour and chat with solutions providers on their ideas and how we can work together on that. So everything should end around 3 or 4 because we are cognizant of Metro Atlanta traffic and want to make sure we get everyone safely home. But it will have an early morning start and very much, again, focused on morning panels of really good researchers, state agencies coming together to talk about their concepts of smart communities, and then focus on the afternoon specifically on the development of your proposal, as well as the different economic development tools that could help with the grant matches that are required.
So there was a question that came in about working with other communities and if the list of interested parties would be supplied. So we can definitely put that list together and supply it to everyone so that you can make sure that you're communicating with the members of your community in putting this proposal together. There was also a question about, will there be follow-on funding available for an implementation phase after this year-long effort was concluded? Currently, there will not be from this challenge. This is just a single-year challenge that we're trying to kick off here. However, we're going to be working hard to try to make this an annual occurrence or develop follow-on opportunities for communities to do implementation phases, but currently that is not available.
So I think I'm just going to answer the final batch of questions. And again, if you have additional questions, feel free to ask us directly on the website. We have a link that can direct it for questions. Also, we'll be updating our frequently asked questions guide. So if there are additional questions that we are receiving multiple times over, we will be putting that up so you will have it. And already our frequently asked questions already have 20-some questions that we're answering based on our previous engagements with the community. So feel free to, again, ask us the questions during the workshop, during the second webinar, or on the website. We also have a pretty active Twitter presence. If you have questions that you want to ask us through social media or want to just keep up with the timeline or any updates, feel free to reach out to us there. So the final batch of questions are asking about the types of projects and again, the grants in terms of what it could be used for. So the types of projects, we're going to have an update on the project inspirations shortly on the website, but given the amount of money and the timeline, we're really trying to promote more of a collaborative project based on the technologies and data that would improve the quality of life around mobility and resilience. We're trying not to be too prescriptive on that because at the end of the day, we want the main priorities to come from the communities themselves, but we are willing to obviously talk to you specifically about your idea or your project to see if that makes sense under our framework and template. The other final question that I'm getting is obviously building out the match for the grant. And so that question actually is a good question that's listed on the frequently asked questions for the proposal. And there is a cash match that's required of the 20%, but other than that, we want to try to keep it as broad in terms of using staff, using other existing resources, et cetera, to build up that match. And we want to be able to work with you on that. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that all communities are committed into this challenge and put in additional resources in on top of the resources that we are providing to really showcase and demonstrate a commitment and thought leadership on that. But if you have specific questions about your project or the way that you are building out your grant match, please contact us separately, individually, and we'll be happy to work with you on that. And the final question, again, is for solution providers. Again, please reach out to us, and there are different ways that solution providers can participate in this, especially in the expo. So please contact us, and we'll be providing some additional communications in terms of your role that could happen on this.
There was one more question that came in that had to do with what is the expectation of communities at the end of this process for the winning communities in July timeframe of 2019. And as part of this challenge, you will produce a planning study, so it will be a document, it will be a report. And that will be a public document that Georgia Tech will make available to other communities. So the end result of this challenge is a documented report of your plan.
Thank you so much. Please take care. Again, the PowerPoint and the recorded webinar will be up on the website shortly, and have a wonderful day.